Before we hear about the research itself, we would have comments by our de facto today. He has served Nigeria as president and as leader in various capacities, and today he will shed light on the conversation about reforms. Please welcome with me to the microphone former President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, who is still able to climb up the stairs unaided, can see and recognize everyone in the room, and will speak soundly to the conversation today. GCFR, sir, we welcome you. Good morning, sir.
Thank you very much. Please be seated. Well, let me apologize because I think on the program, the research report was supposed to be given before I speak. But as I said to Agemokwede this morning, I'm not here because of you. I'm here because of your wife. And because I have 2 other programs in Lagos where I'm supposed to be main actor. But this is very important. And let me start by congratulating my 2 sisters, the outgoing and the incoming head of service. I don't know if it has happened before, but I feel delighted that a lady is handing over to a lady. For me, we are getting there, and we will get there. The second point I want to make, I want to congratulate the executive manager of Agemokwede Foundation. Now you carry name, and she does the job. And thank you very much for the good job you are doing. I like what we want to talk about. Why many reforms in Nigeria, why many reform fails in Nigeria, and what we can do about it. Outgoing head of service, I want to thank you for all that you are doing and all that you have done and all that remain to be done. And I want to again thank Agemokwede Foundation for the great work they are doing with you, and you acknowledge that. I must say that I was, and they will tell you, I was a little bit, what do you say? I was not sure what the result would be, working with the, trying to get a reform. But you listed a number of things. I want to list 5 essentials. I call them principal elements in reform. 1, the initiator. It is very, very important. 2, after it has been initiated, the one who will drive it. And you use the word driver more than 3 times in your lecture. It must be it must be driven, rather. Who is the driver? The initiator, the driver, then the owner. Every reform must be owned. The initiator, the driver, the owner, the executor, who will execute it. And then the fifth one, the sustainer. For me, this is my experience in public life. Starting from what I saw when I came back in 1959, and I had the opportunity to interact with some of our great men in the public service of this country, the S.O. Adebos, the Udochis, the Atas. We talk about training, which is very, very important. And one of the things I observed when I service in education before she ran away to the World Bank, and what were the reasons why those things were not sustained, either in due process or even in education. The greatest bane of reform is discontinuity. That is the greatest bane, the continuity of personnel. Now, the best thing for any reform will be the initiator, the owner, the executor, the, what else do I call it? The driver, and the sustainer to be continuous. If possible, the same personalities. If you can get that, you are lucky. But if not, then you have to have continuity. Any break in continuity means virtually the end of the reform. And then one thing we must understand is reform is a lifelong thing. The process of reform, even in your daily life, in your own life, you are reforming. You are making adjustment. So why should it be difficult? I don't believe it should be difficult. When I was looking for debt relief, one that they told me as I went around the world is reform. And I keep telling them, you are not the one to tell me about reform. I know that I need to reform. I should be about. But if you have any means or any area you want to help me in my own reform, please do so. And Tony Blair, the Prime Minister of Britain at that time, talked about service delivery. And he has done it in his own system. I said, yes, give me the person who did it for you in your own system. And you remember, you sent the lady here for 3 months, and we absorbed what she had to tell us. It helps me in getting debt relief. Now, but the point I am making is that reform is continual. It is not a destination. It is a journey. And that journey must continue. Now, I have met, and I have had to deal with some of the best in the public service of this country. And we have, and from the point you have made, it will appear that those that I have met and dealt with, you still have people like that in the service today. The point is that we need as good men and women in the public service as we need in the private sector. And the public service, if you look very hard, as I had looked when I had the opportunity, the public service contained some of the best men and women in every sense of the word that you can find in this country. The question is that some of them are frustrated. Some of them are inadequately rewarded. And this we have to take note of and correct where we need to correct. The second point, or the third point I want to make, for the public service, and it is the entire public service, which means the executive, the legislative, the judiciary, and the technocrats. Normally, we tend to leave the technocrats, and that's a mistake. They have power. And I mean that. They have power. And let me give two examples that they themselves told me of the power of the technocrat. One was my late friend, Amejoda. When he was permanent secretary, Lagos Affairs Ministry, the policy, according to him, was one man, one plot. And the then Chief Justice of the Federation, Sir Adetokunbo Ademola, has got one plot, and he wanted the second one. He went to the Minister of Lagos Affairs, who ordered that he should be given a form for a second plot. And of course, Amejoda gave him the form for a second plot. He filled the form, he submitted it, Amejoda put it and put it, and nothing. When we left as military administration, and the Shagari administration took over, the minister concerned took over his ministry, and he called the permanent secretary and said, all that nonsense that you people have done with the military, we will not tolerate it. I want to see everything. And the permanent secretary, yes, sir, minister. So within a week, when you enter the office of the permanent secretary, you won't see his head. And what did he do? What did the minister, the permanent secretary, what did he do? Rather than just write a minute, and for the minister he will say, refer to file number 2, refer to file. So there will be 4 files. So within 1 week, the minister table was full of files. And when you enter, you won't see the minister. So the minister then called him and said, well, permanent secretary, no. And the permanent secretary said, oh, minister, you want to see everything? He said, no, not like that. Oh, he said, like how? He said, no, I want to see essential things. Okay. And then the permanent secretary put it in a minute, sir. So, and the minister was foolish enough, he put it in a minute. So he has now given the permanent secretary the power that he didn't even have. He has now said, and the permanent secretary will be the one to decide what is essential, what is not essential. And now that is the power of the technocrats. Now, if you don't know it, you better know it. But the point is this: they have power. The political head group too have power. They have to get their power together and really respect and understand each other and work together. And that is when you can have a reform.